welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another video here on the channel. You guys know what day it is. It is time for the Hot 10 breakdown of the week. If you guys don't know what that is, I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down one by one, telling you guys out there in the community if I'm buying these books at these prices or staying the hell away. But like always, before we start, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do me a favor, tap that sub button, smash that like button. You guys know, once we get to 5,000 subs, I'm giving away a raw copy of an Iron Man 1, and I can't wait to give that sucker away. Without further ado, we're going to get into this breakdown, but one other thing, keep in mind, guys, when I do the Hot 10 breakdown, I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and buy these books if you want to own them. I'm saying that sometimes the prices with FOMO and speculation are too much to spend on a lot of these keys. Sometimes I'm just not interested in the book itself, but if I am, and I say no, it's because I don't want to spend the money. With that said, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting off the list at number 10 this week is a copy of Green Lantern number 40 and the first appearance of Krona. Of course, this is a major antagonist in the Brightest Day story arc in a CGC 8.0, just sold last week for $600, up 13% over the average. We also had a CGC 5.0 sale for $157, up 11% over the average. Hey guys, I'm not a huge Green Lantern fan outside of a couple of keys here and there. I don't know too much about this book, but I will say this. The lower grades, mid grades for under $200, if you want to go ahead and buy it, I'm not going to stop you. At the higher grade, I just think it's way too much money to spend on a book like this. It's a thumbs down for me. Coming in at number 9 this week is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 361 and the first appearance of Carnage, one of the more famous symbiotes spawned from Venom, in a CGC 9.8, just sold last week for $475, up a whopping 5% over the average. I can't tell you why this book is on this list all of a sudden. I don't think there's any Carnage news going on right now. Either way, you know I want to own the book because I'm an Amazing Spider-Man fan, but there's no way I want to spend $500 on a 9.8 copy. I think it's way too much money to spend. Again, if you're a Spidey fan or even a Carnage fan, you want to own this book, but don't pay the high prices on a high grade. It's just not worth it. Coming in at the 8th spot this week is a copy of Hulk number 1 and the first cover appearance of the Red Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross, in a CGC 9.8, just sold last week for $325, up 9% over the average. We all know General Thunderbolt Ross is going to be reappearing in the new Thunderbolts movie, and there's rumors out there he's going to show up as the Red Hulk in this movie. Remains to be seen. Regardless, I think it's way too much money to spend on a 9.8 copy of this character. I enjoy the book. I think it's a nice key. I love the cover, but I think over $300 for a 9.8, I just don't think it's worth it. Again, I want to own the book. I don't want to pay the price. At the 7th spot this week is a copy of Batman Adventures number 12 and the first appearance of Harley Quinn in a standard comic, in a CGC 9.4, just sold the prior week for $875, up 8% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.0 sale for $695, up 4% over the average. We all know why this book is on this list. We just got a photo of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn on the set of the new Joker 2 movie. You guys know how I feel about this book. I'm not a huge fan of it. However, I know this character and this book is extremely popular out there in the community. Again, if you want to own this book, I'm suggesting a 9.8 only. And I want to tell you, some people came at me in the comments saying, why are you only pushing 9.8? Because that's what I believe the great point is you should own for a book for the long term, because that's how I collect, guys. Regardless, it's a cool book. If you want to own it, it's a great character. Go ahead. For me, I'm just not interested. Coming in at number 6 this week is a copy of Detective Comics number 469 and the first appearance of Dr. Phosphorus, a villain who is perpetually on fire after being exposed to massive amounts of radiation. I have no idea who this character is. Either way, an awesome name, Dr. Phosphorus, in a CGC 9.8, just sold last week for $750, up 30% since 2015. We also had a CGC 9.0 copy sell for $125, up 25% over the average. Hey, if you're a Batman fan, maybe you want to own this book. Hey, if you're a Dr. Phosphorus fan, maybe you want to own this book. For me, I'm probably picking this book up in the lower grades for cheap just to have in the collection. I don't want to spend a lot of money on a high grade copy, but either way, cool character. At the 5 spot on this list is a copy of Punisher number 218, the variant cover featuring Jon Bernthal in a CGC 9.4, just sold last week for $256, up 14% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.0 sale for $225, up 22% over the average. Hey, this is a nice cool cover of Jon Bernthal. You guys know how I feel about him. I think he did an awesome job playing this character in the Netflix series, and I can't wait to see him when he shows up in the MCU. Either way, do I want to own this book? Probably not. Again, if I'm going to buy a Punisher book, it's going to be Amazing Spider-Man number 129 or ASM number 135. Those are, to me, are always the better buys. But hey, if you can find this book for cheap and you want in the collection, do yourself a favor, pick it up. At number 4 this week is a copy of Star Wars number 68 and the first mention of the Mandalorians and a Boba Fett appearance in Flashback in a CGC 9.6, just sold the prior week for $450, up 26% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.4 sale for $260, up 14% over that average. You guys know I recently picked up this book for a steal over on Elite Comics 11. Again, a book I want to own. I like some of the early Star Wars keys, not really the modern ones, but hey, again, to each his own. If you want to pick up this book, I think it's all right. Get it in the lower grades. There's no reason to own such a high grade copy. At the high grades, I don't want to spend that kind of money in this book, but either way, it's an awesome key. At number 3 this week is a copy of Shazam number 1 and the first appearance of Captain Marvel since the Golden Age. Of course, now he's referred to as Shazam, and a CGC 9.6, just sold last week for $240, up 3% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.2 sale for $125, up another 3% over the average. Again, you guys know I actually like this book in lower grades. To me, there's no reason to spend such high dollar amounts on a high grade copy of this book. It's not going anywhere. However, I do think it's a cool book. I like to have in the collection. You could probably go out there and get an 8.0 copy for under $100. It's not worth it to spend $400 or $500 on a 9.8. It's just not worth it. But a cool book I'd love to have in the collection. At the 2 spot this week is What Else? It is a copy of Omega Men number 3 and the first appearance of Lobo. This has to be a record. This book has been on the list for like 4 straight months. Maybe with an exception of 1 or 2 weeks off the list. This has to be a key collector record. Do me a favor, key collector, let me know out there if this is a record or not. Either way, the CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $375, up 13% over the average. We all know I'm not a huge fan of this book right now. Again, I still think $375 at this point is still way too much money to spend for this book. I said at the beginning between $300 and $350. Now I'm going to say with all the copies being sold, I want to spend max $300 on this book. Again, I like the character. I think Lobo is awesome. But again, I'm not paying $450, $375 now for this book. I was at a show this week at King Con. There were $450 books all over the room for this one. So do me a favor. I saw a $315 sale on eBay recently. I'm okay with that at $315, but I want to say stick to $300 for this book. And at the top spot for the second week in a row, it is a copy of All-Star Comics number 58 and the first appearance of Power Girl in a CGC 8.5, just sold last week for $275, up 60% over the average. We also had a CGC 7.5 sale for only $189, up another 28% over the average. This book is really starting to get hot. Regardless, guys, you know I don't want to spend that kind of money on this book. Again, if you want to keep a copy in your collection, probably want to spend under $200 for a very fine copy. That's about it. I don't even want to spend up to $200. I think it's an awesome character, and like I said before, James Gunn is going to use this character correctly. Probably he's going to succeed very well with her. Regardless, I just don't want to spend the money. That's it for the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, not a lot of books I personally want to own, but hey, if you like some of these books, don't let me stop you. Just don't spend a crazy amount of money. My best buy of the week is going to be Star Wars number 68. It's the only book I gave a thumbs up to. You guys know I picked up a copy recently, but don't overpay for this book. It's just an awesome Star Wars key we'd like to have in the collection. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.